On March 2017, 15 people dressed up as police officers entered Tambo International Airport at exactly 7:20 p.m. The task at hand, stealing more than $20 million in foreign currency within 25 minutes. Today, this amount is valued at 367,806,000 South African Rands. The group was experienced in smaller robberies, but this time they aimed for Africa's busiest airport, Tambo, in Johannesburg, South Africa, and carried out South Africa's biggest robbery till date. The group did not work alone. They had insiders who helped them bypass the strict security system of the airport. It seemed that everyone involved was so confident about the success of the heist that they risked their jobs just to have a cut. After a South African Airways flight landed, it was 7:20 p.m. when a police van entered through a restricted access gate to Tambo Airport. The police van was closely followed by a white Mercedes-Benz. To appear legitimate, both vehicles had their sirens and blue lights activated. Inside these two cars were a total of 15 men, all carrying AK-47 assault rifles, which were more powerful than those of the security guards. The men inside the police van were wearing full police uniforms, and two of those in the Mercedes-Benz had managed to obtain official airport security badges, which allowed them to enter freely. No one found this suspicious, since airports are highly monitored areas where it's very common to see a police car accompanied by a civilian vehicle for backup. However, they couldn't afford to underestimate the security system. Even police officers are required to validate their credentials before stepping into the restricted area. It was right here that the disguised officers were unmasked as robbers. After being exposed, they quickly switched to their backup plan. Drawing their firearms, they rounded up the security staff at the checkpoint and ordered them to lie on the floor. A source within the Hawks, an elite police unit, has described this robbery as looking like something scripted from a Hollywood movie. But the point to be noted here is that although the robbers pointed their guns at the security personnel, it was harmless, since according to the reports, no shooting occurred and no one was injured. They probably didn't intend to hurt anyone. After handling the checkpoint, the gang split into two groups. The men in police uniforms held up the restricted access gate, ensuring no one could enter or exit the airport, while the others proceeded toward cargo terminal. The cargo terminal of the airport was the main hub for transporting large amounts of local and foreign currency in and out of the airport. The men inside the restricted area then attacked and stopped the airport security personnel who were transporting bags of money from an awaiting South African Airways flight that had just arrived from London. This is how the robbers perfectly executed their plan and finally reached the containers with the money, which were estimated to contain more than $20 million in different currencies. It's thought that the thieves who used special access passes to enter knew exactly which containers to take. You'll know in a bit why I used the term special access passes. Knowing what they were doing, the robbers were careful to steal small denomination notes, which are generally considered easier to move on. So did the members successfully conclude the heist? The answer is yes, they did. They were aware of certain things, which, of course, was part of the plan. They chose AK-47s and knew the perfect timing of the airplane landing because the money containers were supposed to be loaded onto the airplane around 7:45 p.m., and they started at 7:20 p.m., which means that within 25 minutes, 15 men had stolen millions of dollars inside the highly secured cargo terminal. Like I mentioned, the money was in numerous foreign currencies, mostly in US dollars. It was being stored in the cargo section of the airport, where high-value and high-risk items such as gold, diamonds, and weapons are kept. The plan to loot the busiest airports of South Africa had been started since November 2005, when the suspects allegedly learned that a South African Airways plane would be transporting a large sum of cash in its cargo, destined for Tambo International Airport. Now, about the special access passes which I mentioned before, they actually didn't have any documents or credentials to enter. Rather, it was the airport staff who helped the robbers get in to perform the heist. 3 of the men were security guards at OR Tambo Airport, and 1 guarded the vault in which the stolen millions were kept. Additionally, there was a man whose name cannot be disclosed, who was the airport's parking controller and had been brilliantly recruited by the gang. He ensured that the aircraft they intended to rob was parked closely to the exit gate. That's why all 15 of them, within 25 minutes after arriving at the airport, made a clean getaway in their so-called police van and the Mercedes-Benz, exiting through the same entry gate they'd used to enter. After they left, the National Police arrived at the scene. From witness accounts, they determined the exact timing of the heist and immediately ordered the troops to secure all airports, traffic stops, and railways to restrict any further movement of the robbers. This plan actually worked. Within a few hours after the heist, the South African Police Service arrested 2 foreign nationals attempting to leave the country at the Pike Bridge border post near Zimbabwe. The 2 Zimbabwean men were found with over 3 million rands in cash, along with weapons and ammunition. The National Police were working closely with Airports Company of South Africa, better known as ACSA, and South African Airways to determine how the heist was carried out. And this is how they hit the jackpot. 3 days later, the Hawks, alongside the South African Police Service, arrested 3 senior ACSA managers. Before proceeding, let me tell you more about the ACSA. ACSA, or Airports Company of South Africa, is a private company that owns and manages nearly all the airports in South Africa, with partial government ownership. The 3 ACSA managers were present on the night of the robbery and were responsible for showing where the money was kept. They were the insiders I mentioned at the beginning of the video. They also knew the departure time of the plane from the United Kingdom and its arrival time in South Africa. Additionally, they were the only individuals with access to restricted zones at the airport. The entire country of South Africa was shaken by this revelation. The result? The ACSA suspended their aviation licenses. This arrest not only questioned the airport's security system, but also exposed a covert criminal network operating at OR Tambo International Airport. The network included high-ranking police officials, members of the Department of Home Affairs, as well as the airport's cleaning staff, package handlers, and airline employees. At the Johannesburg High Court, the conviction for this heist was followed by a trial that lasted over 6 years. With more than 50 postponements and 57 testimonies from state witnesses. On July 12, 2012, 6 men were convicted out of the 15 and sentenced to 20 years in prison each, not for the heist itself, but for other crimes and murder. It was reported that a total of 5 witnesses were murdered soon after the heist, and these men committed these crimes while out on bail for the airport robbery. Now, in regard to the money, the police managed to recover about 90 million rand, but the rest was still unaccounted for. Out of the 15 men, 6 were convicted, but 9 men are still living in freedom, potentially living lavish lives or lying low. Police never found the rest of the millions or the individuals, but many assume that by now they're dead. After this massive heist, South African government officials upgraded the security system by installing closed-circuit surveillance cameras. It seemed that those 15 men had opened the door for other robbers at OR Tambo, showing them how to carry out a heist. In March 2017, a similar case occurred. This time, a gang of just 3 men, again dressed as police officers, conducted the robbery and managed to steal 24 million rand in foreign currency by snatching 27 bags from a South African Airways flight. However, the police managed to capture all 3, who were subsequently convicted to a total of 90 years in prison. So that's the story of how South Africa witnessed the largest heist in its history in 2006. Let us know your thoughts on this wild case, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable robberies.